All right, thank you, everybody. Welcome back. We are out of executive session. Our first order of business actually is going to be a Pledge of Allegiance, which we did not do earlier, and then we will be moving across the street for the art award ceremony at Nathaniel Morton. So, everyone will join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You want to, yeah.
Acknowledgement.
Yep, and then Ms. Jackson's going to read our land acknowledgement before we go across the street.
We acknowledge that we are meeting on the unceded ancestral homeland of the indigenous people whose enduring presence we humbly recognize. We honor the Wampanoag people as the original stewards of the Herring Pond Wampanoag as the surviving tribe indigenous to these lands. In our commitment to lifelong learning, we acknowledge historical injustices to the native peoples of this land and vow to educate ourselves, our community, and our students on the First Peoples and the hardships they've endured. We offer this as a small but essential step towards building a culture of respect, truth, and accountability.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. All right, and now we will go across the street.
You want to pass them out? You want to have Kathy pass them to you? I think I can read this too. I don't have my glasses with me. Can you try? Okay. I messing up your set? They'll shake Mr. Pisano's hand and they're going to go that way. Do a song and dance? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So sorry for keeping you. We had a busy schedule before coming over here, but really, what a turnout. This is fantastic. I heard we have over 200 people in attendance. I'm Chris Campbell, Superintendent of Schools. Really just so excited to have you here. We really appreciate visual and performing arts here in Plymouth, and it starts with our school committee support, so we're very grateful for that. Mr. Capel and his team as well. We have amazing staff, which really, in my opinion, help to inspire a lot of kids, whether it's visual art, performing arts, you name it. It's just a great forum for self-expression and a whole host of other skills that are important. And we really appreciate your support of the arts and coming here. As you know, your children's, your loved ones' artwork has been in our hallways for many months now. We do this twice a year, and it's really an opportunity to showcase our students, showcase your children, and also just the great work that's done from kindergarten all the way through high school. So again, we have certificates. I want to preface, as I read these names, I want to apologize in advance for any names that I misspeak, and to our students, if I say your name incorrectly, please correct me so we can get that right. Okay, so we're going to start with, and Mr. Pisano, our school committee chair, will be passing out the certificates as we go. Okay, we're ready to go? There you are. You've been waiting patiently. First, from Manaman Elementary, Ava Darling. No? It's not Ava. Mr. Capel, it's not Ava. Flora Hilly, Nathaniel Morton Elementary School. Congratulations. From Nathaniel Morton, Aiden Santasosa. Did I get that? Thank you, Aiden. Also from Nathaniel Morton, Isabella Riccardi. Richard, come over here. Ricciardi. Congratulations, Nathaniel Morton, Mila McGregor. What happened there? We're going to have to get that fixed. Mila McGregor. Also from Nathaniel Morton, Emma Colby. Continuing with Nathaniel Morton, Griffin Lincoln. Griffin. From Nathaniel Morton, Easton Shofi. Congratulations. Also from Nathaniel Morton, Dawson Barros. Go by his dad. Congratulations. Hunter Heekin. Also from Nathaniel Morton, Olivia Lacourte. And Leo D. Tomasi. From Nathaniel Morton, Margaret Fay. From Cold Spring Elementary School, Ray Bollinger. Also from Cold Spring, Isabel Leonard. From Cold Spring, Michaela Borges. Also from Cold Spring Elementary School, Ronan Paluzzi. Good job, Ronan. Cold Spring Elementary, Christian O'Brien. From Hedge Elementary School, Zoe, is it Bichot? All right. Whew. From Hedge Elementary School, Levi Day. Is that right, Levi? From West Elementary School, Laura Moran. Also from West Elementary School, Emily Fitzgerald. Also West Elementary School, Sienna Brigoli. From West Elementary School. Now, Natalie, if I mispronounce your last name, you come up here and correct me, okay? Natalie Sizak. Did I get that right? From West Elementary School, Dominic DeVito. From West Elementary School, Sorsha Kenny. From West Elementary School, Kelsey Karobolis. Did I get that right, Kelsey? Okay. From West Elementary School, Ben Group. Okay, Ben. From Federal Furnace Elementary School, Charlotte Reddy. From Federal Furnace Elementary School, Ella Shaheen. Also from Federal Furnace, Violet Wahlberg. Continuing with Federal Furnace, Ariana Baldacera. Congratulations. From Federal Furnace Elementary School, Celeste Rondeau. Congratulations. From Indian Brook Elementary School, Stephen Burt. Also from Indian Brook Elementary School, Kelsey Fitzgerald. Continuing with Indian Brook, Scarlett Sanella. Okay. And also Indian Brook Elementary School, Tyler Hartwell. From Indian Brook, Cole Ladeau. From South Elementary School, Delaney Pierce. Nice job, honey. Also from South Elementary School, Emma McCrae. Nice job. From South Elementary School, Camden Stringer. And, from South Elementary School, Grayson Benavides. Benavides. Excuse me. I try. From South Elementary School, Finley Perry. Haley Crevino. Come over here, lady. Crevino. At which school? From which school? South Elementary School. Thank you. From South Elementary School, Bryn Squilante. Okay. Also from South Elementary School, Violet Frazier. Nice job. That's right. From South Elementary School, Veronica Vega. I'm envisioning some of the graduation walks across the way, down the road. From South Elementary School, Miles Pajui. How do you say it, Miles?
Pageway.
Congratulations, Miles. Pageway. My apologies, folks. South Elementary School, Elijah Murray. From Manamet Elementary School, Bailey Freeland. From Manamet, Kennedy Parnell. Nice job. From PCIS, Luna Faraday. Congratulations. Also from PCIS, Violet Pagali. From PCIS, Annie Hill. Nice job. Also from PCIS, Colton Strassel. Colton. Continue with PCIS, Harry McLaughlin, excuse me. Also don't have my glasses with me. Nice job, Harry. From PCIS, Anna Harrigan. How do you say it, Anna? Okay. From PCIS, Shayla Denovelis. From Plymouth South Middle School, Keisha Marquez. Good Congratulations, honey. From Plymouth South High School, Madeline Edwards. And Mr. Capel, I have one certificate here and two people in line. So, oh, there we go. From Plymouth South High School, Isabella Smith. Thank you. And last but not least, from Manamet Elementary School, Ava Darling. So again, congratulations to all our artists, and a big thank you, and my apologies for any mispronunciations of your family names. Again, just a great appreciation for your support. Your support is really important to us, and thank you for supporting the arts and coming out in the cold tonight and waiting for us. So thank you so much, and we hope you have a good evening. Thank you. And they had to I'll tell you after.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That was a nice, fun field trip for all of us. Before we get into this evening's meeting, we want to take a moment to remember and honor the life of Eileen Ellen O'Dwyer, who passed away on January 9th, 2025, at the age of 81. Eileen was a dedicated member of the Plymouth Public Schools, serving for many years as the director of the food service program. She was deeply committed to her work and to the communities she served, leaving a long-lasting impact on the lives of those she worked with. Her warmth, infectious laugh, and strong work ethic will be remembered fondly by her family, friends, and colleagues. Eileen was a loving mother, grandmother, and sister, and she will be greatly missed by all who knew her. Please join me in a moment of silence as we reflect the life and legacy of Eileen O'Dwyer. Thank you. All right, next up, we have comments from the general public. Do we have any members wishing to, or community members wishing to speak? Nope. All right, in which case we will move on to our student high school representatives. Tonight we have Ms. Anna King from Plymouth North High School.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Over the last couple of weeks, 37 Plymouth North students attended the Harvard Model United Nations Conference held in Boston. Students represented a variety of countries and discussed international topics regarding social, political, and financial concerns. The students put their best foot forward in the process of discussing and debating these issues in an effort to reach a formal resolution. The senior class just announced a new fundraiser for the class of 2025 graduation lawn signs. The deadline to purchase will be March 28th. Winter recess will begin on Monday, February 17th, and students will return to school on Monday, February 24th. The Plymouth North and Plymouth South boys and girls varsity basketball games will take place tomorrow night at Plymouth South High School. The Plymouth North dance team will be competing at the Endicott Invitational on Sunday, February 16th. On Tuesday, February 4th, a group of student leaders from Plymouth North attended the Southeastern Massachusetts Association of Student Councils conference at Bishop Feion High School. Students were able to meet other leaders from other schools and grow and develop new leadership skills. On Friday, February 7th, over 100 participants and just over 70 plungers took part in a mobile polar plunge at Plymouth North to raise money for Special Olympics. As a school community, we have raised $14,300 for Special Olympics. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that report, Anna. Any questions from Ms. King? All right, and we do not have our representative from Plymouth South.
Just wanted to speak to that. So South High School had to reschedule their National Honor Society evening, so both of our representatives are a part of that, so they are unavailable this evening.
All right.
Just to explain.
It's for a good cause then. All right.
Yes.
All right, well, next up we have two program updates tonight. First up is Mr. Mike Capel with the update on our visual and performing arts program.
Hey everyone, long time no see. Thank you all very much for coming across the street and doing that. I know it's a little bit of a logistical magic trick to deal with and pull off and go out in the cold, but we do appreciate it. I was just walking in now, and all the families were just beaming, coming over here, looking at their work, and just feeling recognized for something that they felt some success in. So thank you for being a part of that. I really appreciate it. My name is Mike Capel, coordinator of visual performing arts for the Plymouth Public Schools. It has been my privilege and honor to be here. This is my 14th year, middle of my 14th year, which I didn't even think I was 14 years old. So that I don't know how that happened. Have you guys ever been kind of into things and into something so deeply, and you get so busy and somewhat distracted and really working hard in something, and you're putting out fires here and there, and you kind of sometimes forget what you're doing or maybe even why you're doing it? Well, within 14 years, I certainly have done that from time to time, and quite recently has been that type of time for me, both personally and professionally. And I'm going to share a little bit of a story with you. We'll start with a little bit of a story. A couple Fridays ago, had a terrible day, real terrible day, and was very distracted, pulled in lots of different ways, and dealing with things, and again putting out fires, and it was just kind of crazy. I was exhausted, and then I looked at my calendar and I realized, oh, it's Lion King tonight, and if anybody has seen a PCIS musical, they're quite good, in my opinion, and I have nothing to do with that. All the credit goes to the amazing volunteers, the kids, teachers, especially Miss Jess Fuller. And it's a pleasure to go to this show. But I looked at my calendar and I was like, just so tired and so exhausted, I could hardly keep my eyes open. And I contemplated for a minute of not going. I had talked to Mr. Palladino and told him kind of things that were happening. And I said, do you got this covered? And he needed a few things, and he was there as the administrator, so I knew it was covered. But I decided, no, I want to go, out of respect for Ms. Fuller, out of respect for the kids, and all the people that put in tons of work to this musical. So I did. I went, and I sat up in the back with my wife and was just kind of quiet and not seen. I don't usually do this. I snuck in the back, up top. You know, I know how to move about buildings and not be seen. If you guys want some advice on that, let me know. And I snuck in the top, and I sat in the seats and waiting. The curtain goes up, the music starts, curtain opens, the kids start singing. The band is amazing, beautiful voices, costumes, projections, everything. It was glorious. And, it's singing, the circle of life. Like, I'm kind of a softie and a sucker for meaningful things. And it was just hit me. It just hit me so hard that it's worth it, even when it's hard. I'm sorry. It's really hard and important work, what everybody does. You all up there, the administration, administrators, teachers, students. It's so hard sometimes. But then, hopefully, with a little bit of luck, you have a moment like that and you kind of get knocked back into your senses and you're reminded of why it is you do what you do, and you get reminded about how special it is to be a part of this district and to lead this, what I think is a pretty good department. So I just wanted to share that with you, and thinking about motivation and thinking about how sometimes it's a pain in the neck, and we all know this, dealing with certain issues and certain things, but if we can remember why we do what we do, hopefully it gives a little bit more energy. And sometimes you can't wait till the next break or the next summer recess to find that. Hopefully you find it during the year as we move along. Thank you for indulging me, and have a good night. This picture, I just want to talk about this for a second. If you'll notice, all those kids are not high school kids. Some of them are like 27 years old. Some of them are 19, some of them are 20. This was a fundraiser, a picture of a bunch of students, a cappella students from North High School that got together and answered a call from Mr. Dave Grossman over the summer to get together and have a little a cappella reunion. God, talk about geeky, nerdy stuff. Oh, amazing. And all of these students, these kids, these young people came back and said, yes, this was a fundraiser for the Kyle Robinson Memorial Foundation, which some of them knew. And it hit me. I saw the photo. I liked it. It just talks to me, speaks to me a bit about community and the fact that that is what we try to do, is build a community where kids feel safe to do what they want to do, and they're even doing it later in life. Was it kind of a ploy to say, Dr. Campbell, I put a picture of your daughter up there? Yes, maybe, you know. She happens to be standing next to my daughter. And then there's also former students that are now teachers in this district in that photograph. There are former students who do very well in engineering and donated $5,000 to the visual and performing arts recently. They don't want to be named, so I will not name them. These are an amazing group of people, and I think they were impacted by the arts. And I won't read it, but that's what we want. We want to build community, and we want to build meaningful connections with our kids, and that's our mission statement. And if we can do that and keep that going past graduation, I think that is pretty cool. Highlights over the last year: trips. Anybody trips? Want to go to some more trips? It's a lot of work, but again, it is tremendously exciting to give kids this opportunity. Hawaii, 80 kids going to Hawaii for four nights. Absolutely insane, and what an opportunity Mrs. Holmes and Mrs. Grube gave to our high school and 8th graders. No, it was just high school kids. My apologies. So many trips coming up, and we'll continue to do it as much as we can. There are challenges with that as prices continue to increase with everything. Big shout out to the Plymouth Schools Music Association. If you're not familiar, they are our parent support group, and they support our performing arts in grades 6 through 12. They are an amazing group of parents who raise money and give directly to our teachers, kind of things that we're not able to provide them all the time, extra things, providing money for trips, for instance, and other various things, and it's absolutely great. I want to give a big shout out to theater. Speaking of that, it wasn't just because I was crying about Lion King. It really is thriving here, and I just want to point out one thing. We don't have an academic program in theater. All of this is co-curricular. It's great. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But it is doing really, really well. We had a group of 6 young ladies and about another 6 to 7 young people at Plymouth North that put together a full-fledged musical on their own. They wanted, speaking of fundraisers and raising money for trips, they wanted to be a part of something, and they wanted to do a fundraiser that had meaning and was connected to what they do, and not just sell chocolate. I'm not saying you can't sell chocolate. There's nothing wrong with selling chocolate. Please don't cancel me. Thank you. But they did it all on their own. They did a presentation to Mr. Grossman and I. They needed some money to buy the rights. I felt like an actual producer, and I had to like green light this thing, and I'm like, don't worry, it was revolving. It wasn't budget money. I wasn't risking budget money. But they needed some money for rights and all kinds of different things to get it going, and that's all they got. They paid for the costumes. They designed the costumes. They did the choreo. They did everything, the lighting, the tech, the singing. Absolutely amazing, and they pulled that off, and they raised over $6,000 for their trip to Florida coming up in a few weeks. And that was all kids on their own. Absolutely amazing. We'll keep going. You can read all that. But the last thing on that slide that I really want to talk about is the amazing teachers. There's 42 art and music teachers in the Plymouth Public Schools. And if you want a good program in whatever you're doing, you need good teachers that care about students, and you'll have a successful program. I talk about this a lot. You know, what do the arts teach? Sure, we teach you how to draw. Yes, it can be taught. We teach you how to sing. Yes, it can be taught. Talent doesn't exist. But really what it does, besides all those educational terms up there, is it teaches people to be uncomfortable. To be uncomfortable and understand that there isn't always a right answer to something. There's your best answer to something. There's your best answer to solve a problem with a group of people. It teaches you to understand that it's not about getting 100. It's not about getting everything correct. There's no way to do that. If you're not afraid to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. That was Sir Ken Robinson. Sounded good, right? Like I said it. I can't take credit for that. But if you're not afraid to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. So the idea that risk-taking matters, not worrying about the grade all the time or the correct answer or afraid to put yourself out there because you're going to be wrong. It's about creating spaces where students can take risks, be themselves, and see if they can be wrong to come up with an original idea. Challenges, there's always challenges. You know, a lot of these things in this presentation, and certainly on this page right now, with challenges, they are quick bullet points for things, and they need deeper conversation. And we certainly have those internally, but if anybody on the committee would like to have more conversations about any of these things, I just want to let you know I welcome that. And if anybody in the public is listening and wants to talk more about those things, I'm happy to listen. I think different points of view matter when we're trying to educate our kids. So recruitment and retention of staff, I used to get 30 to 50 qualified applicants for X arts teacher. I might get 7 or 8 now. So there is a supply chain problem. I have no idea how to fix that, but it exists. Space continues to be a major challenge, which we all know, and we don't need to beat a dead horse there. The other thing, is, again, lack of dedicated space, but using and managing the performing arts centers, it's so funny. We have these amazing performing arts centers that do so much, and we use them all the time, and they're great, and nobody's complaining. I'm not complaining. Dr. Campbell, I'm not complaining. Just a couple challenges is finding, and we have a program, we try to change, we train pack managers, we call them, to hire people to run the sound, the lights a little bit, be responsible there. We have a program where we put out information and we train people, usually staff that's here, and they get a little stipend to do that. It's really hard to get people to do that. It's really hard to get even the people that are trained and signed up to take the positions. If anybody was, I'm not sure, at the South Elementary School concert recently, we didn't have a pack manager, and I was there, so I hit some buttons and things kind of didn't work. Really trying to rack my brain and open to conversations of how to look at that differently to be able to cover that type of issue. And trust me, we've talked a lot about it here, and we put a lot of time into it. On this slide, a challenge, not that Mass Core is a challenge, but if you've ever looked at the Mass Core, they do have a fine art requirement in high school. And there is a requirement to take 1 year of fine art. We don't fully cover that as of yet. We're really close. We're a little over 90% in grades 9 through 12. At least 90+% of students take one fine arts class, which I think is vastly important. But how do we get to 100%? If you're interested in that, I'm not bringing it up. Don't worry. There's a link there to state data in the number of our kids in all grades who have taken different art courses. You can look at it through all the arts. You can look at it through music. You can look at it through art. If you look at it through dance, there'll be 0. Maybe we should start a dance program. But I'm really interested in having further conversations of how do we make that happen at the same time we keep or improve the quality program we have without watering it down. So again, future thought quick bullet point. Ideas for the future. There's plenty of ideas, but I want to hear from more people than me, and I want to hear from more people than our insular, sometimes art staff. So what I'd like to do in the fall is work on a full day of an art summit and bringing a diverse group of community people together. Different stakeholders. So that would include teacher, admin, school committee, you're all welcome, students, families, parents, alumni, and community partners, and kind of ask some big questions of, do the arts serve you? Do they help? How do they help? And what can we do to improve? There are just a quick few bullet points on there for things that have been in my mind quite a bit. I mentioned it before with a thriving theater program that is strictly co-curricular, but I really think we need to investigate how do we transform that co-curricular program where we sell out hundreds and hundreds of seats to the public. How do we turn that and make that also a curricular program? So that would be a priority for me. We can talk more at the summit. I'll see you all there. I'm running out of time, so my soapbox is going to be limited, but talent is fixed, skills can improve. It really, it's nobody's fault, but it drives me crazy when people use the word talent. Oh my goodness, they're so talented. They're not talented. They're not. Like, I can read, kind of. Do you call me talented at reading? No, I work at things. You learn skills. Skills are something that can be improved, and I think that's what we want to do. Again, a culture of improvement over talent, culture of effort over gifted, and a culture of process over product. Real quick, one of the greatest things that has happened this year, try to think about great moments, and I did share one with you, but another one before that, we did a mini WAC. I don't know if you know what WAC is, but it's Winter A Cappella concert, and it was all the a cappella groups at North and South, and we did a mini thing for our 4th and 5th graders, and we bussed all our 4th and 5th graders from all the schools, 2 different concerts, 2 different days, into North. The teachers and the students worked together to make this not just that night. If you go to the night, that's entertainment, but this was about education and teaching our kids a bit about how to do what was happening on the stage. The kids stopped and taught them how to do different beatboxing. They taught them how to hit different pitches. And then the kids talked to them really about like what it was like to be up there, because these 4th and 5th graders is seeing these kids up there, and there's a couple of responses in general from our 4th and 5th grade students. They're, 1, oh my gosh, I really want to do that. That's awesome. I'll take it all day long. Number 2 is, they're so talented. I can never do anything like that. And so one of the students took some time at each performance, informance, and asked the kids, all right, you guys, who thinks we're talented up here? Who thinks we're talented? And the kids are like, whoa. And then the young woman said, what if I told you talent doesn't exist and none of us are talented? And they went on to talk about, the high school student went on to talk about how, think about your favorite, and you guys do this if you play along with me for 2 seconds. Think about your favorite musician, think about your favorite actor, think about your favorite athlete, somebody you know that you think is really good at whatever they do. Do you think in 4th or 5th grade they could do what they're doing now? Do you think they had everything they needed in 4th or 5th grade to be able to, quote unquote, perform at that level? And I would argue with you, no. And every step of the way, they continue to learn new skills from amazing, qualified, passionate, loving teachers, right? Education, growth mindset. And they work really hard. and they have a tremendous passion. We can talk about passion, we can talk about grit, we can talk about all of that stuff. It's not something where you're like touched, right? Okay, is Mike Capel at 5'6", most likely gonna make a professional basketball team? No, I'm not that bad. I can move, I can pass, I understand the game. But I don't have everything it takes, so there's definitely some natural ability that plays into it, but the mindset of talent is being fixed and skills can improve, and I really want to move everybody from saying they're so talented to they're so skilled. That really is it. I'm done. I'm sorry. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, thank you, Mr. Cable. We always
thank you.
love hearing from you. Ms. Jackson?
I really appreciate that you come in here and you talk to us about all the things, and it's not just a presentation about all the great things that you do, but you also talk about where the deficits are, how we could do better. And I've gone to so many of your performances, and I was just at Lion King too, and it was great. But I think people at home need to know how lucky we are to have somebody like you who builds a community of resilience, and that's what it is when you talk about like getting people to feel uncomfortable, is you're helping to build resilience and confidence for these kids, and that's what makes the arts and theater and the things that you do important, even though sometimes I'm sure you feel like that parent who it's like you're sitting at the table and you're like, oh my God, not this again today. But then you have those moments like the Lion King where you're like, my child just won an award, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just want to say thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Can I just say, I do appreciate that. I take that, and I really do thank you. I'm trying to take that in. But in all honesty, it's a village of amazing educators and partners and teachers and administrators and principals and custodians. And like, it really is a village. So nobody can take credit on their own for anything, right?
I believe that. We're very lucky to have the staff that we
Yeah.
do here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Dr. Schwartzen?
Jefferson wrote, if you want something you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. And I'm glad you're moving from talent to skills, because when the conversation is about talent, the conversation is over.
Exactly.
And that movement is a great movement. And I hope our 4th and 5th graders get it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Ms. Bryant?
I would share as a parent to a 5th grader who thoroughly enjoyed that opportunity. You can take credit for building the community of connection, whether it's for all the staff that collectively support the students and help build their confidence. I've had 5 children go through the school system, and I've seen the changes to the performing arts over the years, where given the right tools, the right resources, the right people, you're able to achieve amazing things. And with each child that's been able to participate, you see the confidence grow, where they apply it not only to what they're interested from a visual arts perspective, but they also take it into math, that they can do it. It may be hard, but I can do it. Same with English and such. So I do want you to take some credit for that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your point. Just about it. It's transferable. It's not. We are not have expectation that everyone. We're not a conservatory. Nobody. We don't train. We hope we have a program when kids want to go on, they have the skills to be able to do that, and we do. But really, we want to be able to teach those skills that are completely transferable to other subjects, and life, right? Like, so thank you.
Anybody else? No. It's funny you mentioned you've been in the role for 14 years, so I'm in my 14th year of being a parent in this district, so the bar was set by you, so I don't know any different, so I assume this is what VP is supposed to be like. But no, I've been very thankful for all those 14 years. My kids have took full advantage of it and still are. It's, I echo the sentiments of my fellow members. We're lucky to have you and lucky to have the staff, so thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks for allowing me to come and tell you what's going on. And again, thanks for coming over, and thanks for supporting all kids in the visual performing arts. I really appreciate it.
And let us know about the summit. We'll be there.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
absolutely. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks. All right, next up, we have an update from our English department, I'll say. English language we call this.
Good evening. I'm Lisa White, the ELA coordinator. I have Mrs. Shelley Terry with me tonight. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of our secondary work, and she doesn't like me to say it, but she did win the Milken Award since I last did my program update. So I thought I would have her share a little bit about her work in the classroom and some of the wonderful things that we're doing with our students. So she'll be adding
for having me.
adding in a little bit. I love going after VPA. I feel the need to talk about my own musical and theater background.
Another example of it.
But it is a night for humanities, which I love. So I want to give you some highlights since the last time that I did my program update. I was here in September, and so I'm going to start with just going over some of the things that I did talk about in September regarding early literacy, and then transition to some of our secondary work. So we talked a lot at that meeting about the early literacy screening that is taking place in all of our elementary schools, and the foundational skill building that we're doing with our students. Two other things that I think are really important to talk about at all grade levels, but we start very early on, is really working with students' oral language development. Oral language is a precursor to reading and writing skills, and we do a lot of work with our youngest students on having them tell us what they know, tell us a story, use it as rehearsal for something that they're going to then write about. And then as they progress through the grades, we teach them about accountable talk. So I think in today's world of devices and lack of socialization in some cases, it's more important than ever to really teach our students very specific skills about how to talk with one another, and then provide them lots of opportunities to do that, to really talk not just to the teacher, but to their peers, and really have conversations and learn how to disagree without being disagreeable, which is a lesson I think many adults could benefit from. So again, just an important piece of our ELA curriculum is talk and discussion. We have done a lot of work at this level, and again, you'll hear about this at the secondary level on small group instruction. We know that whenever we give any kind of a lesson to a group of 20, 24 students, that some students are not quite ready for that. Some students already sort of know a lot of what you're saying, and then there's the ZPD in the middle, where it's like the right time for them. And so we want that mini lesson to be mini, and we want to be able to then use the rest of the time to really work in small groups where we can provide more targeted instruction to the needs of the students. So again, a lot of work in that particular realm. And then I want to add a little bit more about the ELA webinar. I know we had talked about that last year. So last March, we did a live webinar with EdTV. It was a little bit like a talk show, if you will, but we interspersed clips of classroom practices of actual teachers teaching students at our own schools, and really tried to explain a lot of what we're doing at the elementary level. I think sometimes you can hear me talk about it, but when you actually see students in classrooms and teachers teaching these lessons, I think it comes to life a little more. So just a little plug that is still up there if anyone is interested in that. And then the writing units in grades 3 to 5. So we have updated writing units, and a lot of the things, writing has been a strength for our district for a number of years now. We look at that when we look at our MCAS analysis, for example. But what's really nice about some of the updates to these units is that there's even more focus on having students write with a purpose and for an audience. And we say that because we don't want students to write only for the teacher. because that seems not relevant in many ways. So we want to give them an actual purpose, like who are you writing this for? What are you trying to accomplish? And I wanted to tell this little story. We have a third grade unit where they were talking about opinion, and they were talking in their classes about issues that are important to them at third grade. And then students wrote letters. So students in the third grade at Hedge, this happened to be Hedge Elementary, they wrote letters to a number of us about specific questions that they had. Dr. Campbell can tell you about his multiple letters he received about needing an elevator at Hedge Elementary School. I told him to tell him he'll do one better and get them a new building. But he couldn't fix that one right away. But I received a letter from Nevaeh, who wrote to me and asked if we could have more books in different languages. And she talked about the fact that they have students at Hedge that speak different languages, but then also she, as someone who didn't speak another language other than English, would also love to have books in other languages for her to learn about that. And that's something we have been working on in the district anyway. So of course, I could not resist the opportunity to purchase more books in response to Nevaeh's letter. And so we were able to find about 35 books in Brazilian Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Spanish, and Tagalog with the languages. Was able to bring those over to her third grade class. And we had a great conversation where I asked them where should we store the books, and they gave all kinds of great suggestions. And so they're trying to figure out now if they want to distribute them, put them in the library, et cetera. So again, just for them to see that if I write a letter to someone, there's a response to that letter, and it's something that can make a difference. And that really is what we're hoping that we're teaching our students, is that when they write, they can make a difference for others. Oops, I might be stuck. There we go. I wanted to talk a little bit about our inaugural One District, One Author program. You heard a little bit last year about this when we accepted the donation checks from the Plymouth Ed Foundation and the Kiwanis Club. So we had done this with all of our elementary schools and the preschool, and we had Peter Reynolds was our focused author. And we were able to purchase books for every school and do a lot of wonderful activities at the building level. And then we had a Create Bravely night with Peter and Paul Reynolds, where they came and students explored their creativity. A lot of the things that Mr. Capel was talking about, where it was very open-ended and make a design out of the dot, and things like that, which was a great event, and they signed books and had a great time. And Peter Reynolds' books have a lot of wonderful themes, so we were able to really coordinate that with a lot of the work that was being done at the building level. And we're excited that, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's probably me. We're excited that we're going to have a second event this year with the author Kate Messner. And we chose Kate Messner because she's written a lot of books. She's a very prolific author. But she's written picture books, she's written nonfiction books, she's written novels, series. So she really covers multiple grade levels, which is something that we were really looking for. That's just a small selection of the books that she's written. And so we were again able to secure funding with the Kiwanis and Ed Foundation's support, and we'll be doing that in March. So we'll coordinate that with Read Across America, and a lot of our schools like to do March Madness brackets with books, so we're looking forward to that. And she's going to do two virtual visits with all of our schools this year, so that every student will have an opportunity to talk with the author. We are on our 10th year, it's hard to believe, but our 10th year of the Reflections Anthology of Young People's Writing, which was something we started when we first went to Plymouth, UK, as part of our 2020 planning. And they were doing a book like this. We thought it was a great idea. We did it with them for a while, and then we just kind of kept on going. This is with the VPA department as well. It's a collaboration we do with them, and students submit pieces of writing. We had, I think, about 300 entries this year. We picked, I think, about 70. And then we send them to artists to make artwork to go along with the pieces, and we publish them in a book. So these are all the covers, the various covers over the years. And if you want to see the unveiling of the 10th edition, it is this Wednesday at 6:30 at Plymouth South High School. We were nervous about weather, but I think we're okay. Latest weather report seems okay. So we'll be unveiling the new cover and the new book on Wednesday. And it's just a great opportunity to really celebrate students who love to write, and then to bring in the art piece is always fabulous to see what the students have come up with to go along with these pieces. Whoops, back a little. We are also continuing to work on our Poetry Out Loud program. This is a program that we started about 7 or 8 years ago at both high schools. It started out as just a volunteer event. It's now become something that every single high school student does as part of their English class. And we have classroom winners from each class, and then there's sort of a regional, sectional at the building level, and then the finalists perform at an evening event, and we judge those, and the winners get sent on to the Cape Cod area division. The picture on the lower left is a student from South High who went on to the state finals in Boston last year, which was a great accomplishment, and they performed at the old meeting house, and it's, very exciting. So I think one of the things that's so nice about Poetry Out Loud is it's really become something that every student knows, like, this is something we do, and they really have to select a poem that means something to them and internalize it and present it in some way. Do you want to add a little to
Yeah, I think the
that?
great thing about it is the diversity of students that we see. So this year especially, we had more freshmen than any grade, which was great. And I think because they're starting to talk it up a little bit in the middle school, that's been helpful. But seeing like a wide range of kids, it really is a whole different type of student that you kind of see there. And it's a great place to see them really shine, whereas sometimes these are the kids that are reserved in class, but they're actually doing well on stage. A lot of our EL students do really well with it, which has been great to see them to win the classroom competitions.
Just some other accomplishments. We had a writing award winner last year. I think we had her here at school committee in the spring, Caitlin Richer. One thing that was great this year, and I'm speaking a little for the social studies department too, because you won't have a program update from them this year, but we worked with them on the MLK essay contest with No Place for Hate and the Plymouth Diversity Committee. And we found a way to really connect the topic with a 7th grade event that had been planned at the middle schools, where they had someone come from Africa and talk about his work in this area. So it was really nice to have something that the students were hearing about, someone in the real time who was doing peaceful, nonviolent work for equity, and they were able to make connections with Martin Luther King and his message, which was wonderful. And so we scored the essays and had winners, and then the first and second place winners came to the event, the MLK event, and they did a fabulous job. They represented Plymouth schools extremely well. They both had standing ovations, and just was a great opportunity to, again, connect students with the community at large. And then again, I'm sure you heard from Ed TV at the last meeting about the PNN and Panther TV and awards that they continue to win every year. Mrs. Terry actually is the teacher for the PNN program at North, and I wondered if you could just tell them a little bit about a particularly fun story that they did this year.
So I'm not sure if you saw it, but if you haven't, you should check it out. We interviewed an astronaut, Suni Williams, actually on the International Space Station, which is pretty crazy. It was one of the most amazing and confusing situations I've ever been in, just because it was so bizarre to have kids actively talking to someone. And when we started, she was like, I don't know, somewhere over here, and then she was like 4,000 miles like away by the time we were done, 45 minutes later. Like, it was incredible. It was really interesting. We also brought in some engineering kids, math students to also be there and ask some questions as well. But it was a very interesting interview, just learning about what it's like, the fact that, you know, she's quote unquote stuck up there longer than planned, but really loved it and was excited about it. It was a really extraordinary situation for kids. And for them, you know, just to even know, she's like, okay, in 3 minutes, it's going to go dark because of the position of the sun and the satellite, and then we'll pick up in 20 minutes. Like, it was such a surreal experience, but the kids really enjoyed it.
And you could see the earth right behind her.
Yeah, that was like that. Normally you don't get to see that. Like, she was like, all right, I'll come and we'll go to the front and I'll show you what Earth looks like. And so you're on Earth while we're talking, and technology is amazing. So it was very exciting.
That's amazing.
I have failed at clicking. One thing that is really important is that we continue to support our teachers. You heard Mr. Capel say that. One of the things we want to make sure is that our teachers are continual learners as well. It's a lesson we want to teach our students. And so a lot of the professional development that we've been doing with our teaching staff is really embedded professional development. You can have great workshops, you can have great lectures and, you know, things like that. But when you have people in your classroom working with you and your students and modeling and doing that kind of work, that's really where we see a lot of aha moments, I think, for people. We sort of talk about it as the medical model, you know, where they follow each other around and they have interns and they learn from each other. So I think that's really powerful. And you can kind of see in the pictures on the two right-hand side pictures in elementary classrooms, there's about 5 teachers sitting there watching, you know, work with 1 or 2 students. And when we have staff developers, they'll say, I'm going to talk to the teacher sometimes, you know, to the teacher sometimes, and sometimes I'm going to talk to you. And they say, you know, because teachers are always learning. And I just think that's a really important message to send to our students, is that teachers are always learning as well to, you know, become better at their craft. So I think that kind of professional development has been really helpful and important. We were very fortunate that the national convention, the NCTE, was in Boston this year, and that's always nice because we can send people, more teachers, to that. So NCTE was in November. There were more than 1,000 sessions offered that our teachers could take advantage of. They had amazing keynotes. Katani Brown-Jackson was a keynote. Kate McKinnon from the entertainment world, and Brian Stevenson, who wrote Just Mercy, who's done a lot of work for the Justice League. And that's a book we also use with our students, so that's why Mrs. Terry was excited to meet him. And then that picture in the middle are all of the books that one of our 8th grade teachers brought back for free to her classroom. She had about 54 free books that she took with her. So again, just that idea that we want to continually learn as teachers.
Can I say one thing about that? So I think one of the things I love about it is you're learning from other teachers as well from all over the country. And so the last time we went was over 10 years ago, I think, was when it was in Boston. And so I think what I love about it is you just soak everything in and then you try to come back and try to implement as much as possible. And so this year, my focus, which one of the things we'll talk about is supporting multilingual learners, is that I was trying to get students to write about sensory language, you know, really trying to be descriptive in what they were saying and describing their own lives and what they carry, because we were reading Tim O'Brien's The Thing They Carry. And I'm listening to this, and they're talking about how you get kids to write. And so one of the things you need to do is you need to let them write in their native language, like give them a choice, whatever you want to write in, because I'm not assessing in this situation, you know, spelling and grammar. I'm assessing, do you understand how to be descriptive and have sensory language? And with technology, I can take something that they write and easily translate it back into English, and I can see if they get it. And so this moment, I was sitting in this session, and I immediately went on. I think it was a Saturday, and my kids were working on an assignment, and it was going to be due on Monday, and I sent a message to all of them saying, you can write this in whatever language you want. And a few of them questioned me, wait, you mean I can write it in Portuguese? I'm like, yep. And they did it. And it sounds crazy, but I didn't realize how amazing of writers they really were until I was able to see it in their own native language. And it was such an eye-opening experience. And it was almost like I have permission to do this. And it really changed the whole classroom dynamic. And that would have never happened if I didn't get to go to that conference.
So just some other secondary level highlights. So one of the projects we've done the last 3 or 4 years is work on updating all of our courses at the high school level. And again, I say update because they're always a work in progress. We're always adding new links and new texts and new revisions to them, but really wanted to make sure that we were as updated as possible with all of our courses. We offer our standard English courses, and then our seniors take 2 half-year courses. We have lots of options for them, which is fun, kind of a lead into college. So we have dystopian literature and Shakespeare and historical fiction and
21st century,
21st century,
science
all kinds
fiction.
of things. And then we also have our elective courses as well. So just updating those was really important for us to do. We also have been having a lot of conversations about AI, as everyone has been in education. We were probably some of the first departments to start talking because of the, maybe negative use of AI, if you will. And so we've just had to really grapple with teaching our students about tools that are out there and what are the benefits of some of these tools, and there are many wonderful benefits to a lot of the AI features, and then what are some of the pitfalls and things that students really need to be aware of, especially as they're moving into the workplace and college. And so, that's an ongoing conversation that we continue to have as new things become available, but just sort of educating ourselves as teachers on that, and then learning how to support students with that. Do you want
Yeah, I think also thinking about the way you go about things. Like, I can't assign as much stuff to just have kids go home and work on things, because unfortunately, at least 50% of it's going to come back and it's not them. And so trying to do more in the classroom with the same amount of time, and trying to prioritize things, and trying to do on-demand writing as much as possible, and working on the process piece. So it's definitely a work in progress. I think it's better this year than it was last year, so I think that's something we're continually trying to work on, but also with the authentic audience and trying to make kids understand why learning how to write and not just copying writing is important, is really what we're trying to focus on.
You heard us mention this earlier, but the support for multilingual learners is an ongoing direct, objective for all of us. And as our populations have increased and become more diverse, we really want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to support those students. And so one of the stories that we wanted to tell you about is that at the high school level, until fairly recently, a lot of times students who came and they were level 1 or 2 language proficiency, they were not actually in an English class. They were in a ESL class as an English class, which is not the same thing. So we've really been working very hard with Matt Carpenito and the staff around trying to make sure that our students are receiving English instruction as a course, along with English as a language. So we have a couple of quotes. Do you want to give these some context?
Sure. So this is my first year teaching a class with current EL multilingual students. I was very nervous, I will be very honest. Even with SEI endorsement and everything, I was curious to see how this was all going to play out. Normally these kids weren't in our classes and whatnot. How is it going to work out? And it is the best experience I've had in my 18 years here. So this is a student. I kind of just asked them if you could give us a little bit of something about what it's like being in this class. So he wrote, "I'm from Brazil, and this is currently my first year taking an English class with Mrs. Terry and Mr. Sorensen. They have helped me as a student making progress with writing and understanding the meaning of a speech or a text. I have learned how to analyze speeches to get the context out of it, and I have improved my writing skills to use more sophisticated words in a text." And so that was on demand in front of me, not using any sort of, translation or anything, which is great. And these are their first years in a full English class. Again, I think this was like a level 3, which is typically like we'd wait a little bit longer before they would come in our classes. And so it's been really great. I think there's a few things. I think number one, the stories these kids have shared about their own experiences, like leaving. So many of them left during COVID and came here, and just hearing their stories in descriptive ways and kids feeling comfortable with a classroom community that's really happened has been astounding. I have another student that sent me this where she said, I noticed the difference between ESL and ELA. In ESL, I was just learning English, and in ELA, I was using my English, which I loved. Mrs. Terry and Mr. Sorensen helped me improve my skills in reading and writing, and I'm sure that doing American literature made me more confident in reading and writing in English. And so it has really been a rewarding experience. We're hoping maybe next year to even get the very beginning students into some co-taught classes where we could work together to help these kids, because I think it was such a great, I love that line, I was learning English, but this is where I'm using English. And I think that was such a powerful moment for me to realize the importance of that.
I think it's so important. I just want to interject for a second. I think it's so important that a lot of the assumptions that adults make and assume about kids are so incorrect.
Correct.
And when we allow them the opportunity, they just flourish. And yeah.
I think there was a lot, I had my own reservations. I'll be very honest. I had anxiety all summer long about how
Not
this
you.
is going to work.
Come on.
Not me, I know. How is this going to work? And how am I going to help them? And how is this going to work with other kids that are not where they are? And it worked, and it worked a lot better than I thought. And these kids wrote, in October, they wrote a 3-page paper, a character analysis after reading The Crucible. We did it together. We acted out loud. They truly did it. And that was no ChatGPT. There was nothing with translation because I scared them all, and I made sure that they did it in front of me. And they felt good after. They were so proud, and they just turned in their own personal narratives where they wrote about different experiences from their own life, and they were so proud about that as well. And they go and they tell their ESL teachers, look at this, look what I'm doing, and it's been great.
Yeah. I love that.
Again, we talked before about small group instruction. We're doing PD on that at all grade levels. And, partially what we're talking about, right? Because if we have the more diverse learners we have in our classrooms, the more we need to address, students in different ways. And so having those options is important. We've also been continuing to do diversity audits with our book rooms and really taking a look at what we have for reading material for students. You saw the quote before about making sure we have windows and mirrors and sliding glass doors for our students, and that really is something we're taking to heart as far as what characters are represented in the books that students are reading. And we've looked at gender, we've looked at setting, we've looked at time period, we've looked at disability, ability, all kinds of different things and ways of looking at our collections to really improve what we have. And then the other piece, and this is something that was a district initiative, not just in the ELA department, but I think that Dr. Rogers would say we were some of the first people to go along with wanting to do this. So we also have phased out our CP2 level at the freshman level, and that is going to continue up through the grade levels next year. Again, I think there were some people that were concerned about that. As someone who does K-12, one of the things I like to say is, well, they weren't in CP2 in 8th grade. They suddenly became that, right, in freshman year. And so I love this quote, students will rise to the level of a teacher's expectation. I firmly believe in that. And so having students not have that lower level class, I think has been a much needed change. And we also have a quote from a teacher about this. You want to share?
Yeah, so this transition has been incredibly positive for the school community. The school groups have been able to be diverse and supportive, helping some students stand out as role models and others to have an array of positive peer models. The small class sizes have been essential to this success, as well as the thoughtful pairing to make sure that all students have the opportunity for teacher support. So one of the things I know at North specifically, I believe it's South too, that our principals tried to do was make sure that these class sizes were not all of a sudden going to 28 kids in a class, because for a lot of these kids, before this, a lot of our CP2 courses were kind of averaging at 15. Anywhere between 10 and 15. And so to try to manage that with a co-teacher in the class for some of them and everything, I really do feel that the reason why it's been successful is it's a lot more manageable when you have that smaller class size to really help out and transition into it. So our hope is, as it transitions to the sophomore year next year, that hopefully those teachers, we're going to do our absolute best to try to make those attainable classes to make sure it's just as successful as it was for the freshman class. For our department, we have kind of had this model for senior year. So I think our teachers were a little bit more used to the idea and not as hesitant, but I think they are seeing it work a lot better. When you grouped these kids together, they would travel around all day. So their drama would travel around all day, and now they're all dispersed. And so really, it's just better. They're meeting kids that they didn't know before, that they maybe haven't been familiar with. I mean, at PCIS they have been, but at PCIS they're all in the little groups for 3 years. And so here they're finally able to talk to each other, get to know each other. And I feel that because of that, you do have these natural leaders that come out and they're really bringing everyone up. No one's bringing anyone down. Everyone's bringing everyone up, which is great.
And just a reminder, we still also do have honors level, so it's not like we've completely de-leveled our program. But I love not hearing that phrase, my CP2 kids, anymore. That was something like nails on a chalkboard for me. And I just think it's something that I'm thrilled that we're doing in the district. So ongoing focus areas. Obviously, there's always work to be done and lots of things to work on. Again, you see that refinement of small group instructional practices at all levels. That continues to be something that we work on. We want to make sure that we're providing instructional practices that are responsive, inclusive, and supportive to all of our students, and really responding to the needs of the students in front of us. I talked a lot about this in the fall, but our data team protocols, where we're really looking across the year, we're meeting to talk about student data, to talk about what we should try for someone who might be, not making the progress we would hope that they would make. What can we provide for them as some form of additional teaching or intervention, and really just making sure that we're progress monitoring for those students in particular who are not performing at grade level and making adjustments to that. And then we are using the engagement continuum. That's something we've been using in the district for the last few years as part of our learning walks. And it's really this idea of when we walk in classrooms, who's doing the work? Is it the teacher doing all of the work, or are the students driving the instruction? So the goal is to get to the right-hand side a lot of the time, which is student driving instruction. The minimum we're sort of looking for is the participation. So we obviously want students participating in their learning. But how can we get them to go from just participating to actually driving the instruction? And that's where a lot of those pieces come in around small groups and accountable talk and having a voice and a purpose for what you're doing, in terms of your writing and all of those kinds of things, to really make the learning relevant for students so that they see that it's not confined to just this one book they might be reading. So again, always more work to do, and every day we do that. I will say, we have a wonderful, just to echo what Mr. Capel said, we have a wonderful, wonderful ELA staff here in Plymouth. I'm very proud of our staff. And a wonderful, every pre-K to grade 5 teacher is an ELA teacher as well. So it's really every teacher that is doing that work. And we also have struggled a little bit with some of our, recruitment pieces. We also have many fewer people applying for jobs than we used to. So that's an ongoing thing. But we, we're very pleased with the teachers that we have in our department. And I really do think one of the things that has helped us to keep our teachers is the fact that we provide a lot of professional development and opportunities for growth, because I think that teachers are really looking for that type of support. Any questions? Does anyone
Thank you.
have?
Questions? I guess you must have wowed us with all that. Appreciate all that. You have
No, I was just gonna say, I've had the opportunity to talk to you at length about a lot of the literacy stuff, and I like how open you've been and how much you've been able to share. I was one of those students that was caught in the middle when we had levels, and without having an excellent guidance counselor at the time, I would have just been stuck there, but he recognized it and helped me to move up. And I know not everybody is so lucky, so I really think this change, like you said, people live up to what people put out there for them. It's really important that we recognize that these kids are just as capable and need to know that people believe in them. So I appreciate that.
100%.
Anybody else? No, the only comment I was going to make is more, I really appreciate what you're doing on the multi-language learner side. As a multi-language learner myself, it would have been neat to have that when I was growing up. So I really love the way you're just making them come along for the, for the ride. So it's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next up, we have our proposed 2025-2026 Plymouth Public Schools academic calendar. Ms. Dr. Rogers or Mr.
I'll
Dr.
take
Campbell?
this one, Mr. Presenter. Thank you very much. So this is typically at the first February meeting, we have the proposed calendar for the upcoming school year. We've also included for the next agenda item, I believe, the school committee proposed calendar as well. So 25, 26, hard to believe that we're entering FY 26, but with the contract adjustments that were made, we're allowed to start a little bit earlier. So you notice that the proposed start date for the teachers is actually the 25th of August. And we'll have 2 days with our staff. It will be the opening day, which we typically do when everyone gets together in the Performing Arts Center, the 25th. And the 26th will be an opportunity for staff development, as well as time for teachers to prepare for their students. So our proposal is to start on the 25th with staff. Students grades 1 to 12 will come on the 27th, and kindergarten will come on the 28th. We have the 4-day, the long weekend also that's part of the contract for Labor Day. Preschool would start afterwards. First day of preschool would be the 2nd of September. You can see the half days that are in there. We have 7 in-service half days that are spread out throughout this. We have Veterans Day. The Thanksgiving recess would be the 26th through the 28th, as it has been for many, many years. The holiday recess in December, because of where the holidays fall, it's actually 2 weeks we're proposing. So December 22nd through the 31st, so the 2 full weeks, returning on January 2nd. No. The 5th, excuse me.
5th.
It wasn't on this, but the 5th. Yes, because the 2nd is the Friday. Martin Luther King Day, no school on January 19th. Our winter recess in February would be the week of February 16th. The April recess would be the week of April 20th. Again, this is in line with what's been done in the past. Graduation Day, no school Memorial Day, excuse me. Graduation Day would happen Saturday, June 6th, with the last day of school pending any makeup days would be Wednesday, June 17th, with the possibility, and hopefully we don't have to initiate 5 snow days or weather-related days. The 25th would be the final day.
Do you have any questions on the, Ms. Shaw?
With it doesn't have to be this year, but with the town updating the polling locations and reducing our polling locations, is there any thought to eliminating the full day off on election day? In theory, if we're only having 4 polling locations, the need to use the schools would be diminished. So,
Sure. So my understanding is there'd still be a few of our schools that will be used, so there would be very, very heavy traffic areas for election. Contractually, we have another full day for professional development, so we typically stay with the election day, regardless of how busy our schools would be, because it seems to be the most logical place to put it at, rather than having another day that we would be canceling school. That's the reason that we've used that in the past.
okay.
Good question. Anybody else? The only question I had, Dr. Campbell, it wasn't so much an issue with the calendar, just the way it was written up, and I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but for the holiday recess in December and January, in December, it shows like Monday, the 22nd through the 31st, and then it says holiday recess, December 22nd, January 2nd. And then, but in the now below, it says continued January 1st, January 2nd. I don't know if, yeah, were you trying to show it all at once, or should that top one say December 22nd to the 31st? I don't know, like, I didn't know if it was like that on purpose, or if that was a typo.
Are you doing to split the year? I see what you.
Yeah, because I know you split the year on purpose, so should that top line just have the December part, or
Which top line are we talking about? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing.
the bottom of the first page where you have
Yes, where it says
Monday
holiday recess, December 22nd.
to January 2nd,
Oh, I
but
see
down
what you're
below
saying.
it says January 1st, January 2nd again.
Yeah.
You have that part, yeah.
Yeah, you're correct.
But if you're trying to be all inclusive, that is the entire break, so like I said, I wasn't sure how you were trying to.
Yes.
What
so
the
that-
intention
that-
was there.
That is a little confusing, but it is the two. it's
Yeah,
from
that's what,
December
that's what I, yeah, well, I
22nd
wasn't saying it
through
was
Jan-
wrong, it just.
Yes,
it-
because it's kind of
it looked a little
continuing
off.
on to the January piece.
Yeah, so that appears twice, so, I don't know, just something, I don't know, if it's worth
Yeah, so
updating.
so it's more the dates, and when we send it out, the calendar will be clearly
Blocked out.
depicted the way that always is, with the blue highlights of those 2 weeks starting on the 22nd through January 2nd would be the December break. But it is a little confusing in the memo.
Yeah, then maybe on the first one should probably then say the 31st, because the second one says continued, just to make it clear that
Yep.
it was 2 blocks. But, Dr. Schwartz,
If you're ready for a motion, you're ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
I will move that we accept the calendar as presented.
Second,
Second.
Ms. Shaw, seconds, all right. And we can vote online, I assume. Yours, George? You're not logged in.
No one showed me how. Just throwing that out there.
All right, in the meantime, we'll do the roll call in the meantime, all right. So roll call in the meantime, Ms. Bryant?
To join the meeting
oh,
here,
wait.
so do you know what your password is for your? No.
So once this is voted on, and if it's approved, we will filling some time.
Yeah, we'll,
See, so what do we do?
yeah, we'll roll call in the meantime, so, yeah,
Thank you.
so Ms. Bryant?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Haywood?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Dr. Sorensen?
Yes.
And I vote yes, all right, it's unanimous.
Thank you. We'll be sure to clarify that memo and we'll put that out, and once the calendar is
Yeah.
finalized, we'll put that out, but a
All
little
right.
bit clearer.
And then we have the school committee calendar.
Yeah, so the dates that are proposed, I'm not going to go reading through all of this. This is the same structure that we've followed this year in terms of the summer meetings and the configuration of the meetings. Just the dates change because the date happens to fall on a different day.
Do you have any questions on the school committee calendar?
I do. I just have
Yeah.
a question. I think just the Saturday morning meeting and the winter time, I do see, I mean, I understand what you just mentioned. I see that it's on the 31st. It's normally, 31st of January. I know that it's normally like the first weekend
Of February.
in February.
Right, it is off by a day, which brings it into the other month. Yep.
Yeah, like instead of like the 6th or 7th,
It'd be the February 7th.
it would have been like,
Yep.
it's normally the first weekend in February.
Yeah, and I think, right, so it's tricky, right? So we did this so that you wouldn't have the back-to-back meetings within a couple of days, but yeah, I understand. So, I mean, whatever the the committee would be happy if there's a change there, a proposed change, happy to consider
Well,
that.
there's back-to-back meetings in October,
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Saturday and Monday.
Yeah, there is. I think we try to avoid it this year more than once, so, and where that falls in January this year, though, I see what you're saying, or next year.
4 to 6.
Personally, February would be better for me, but that's just my personal thing.
So
I'll
we
make
could change that
anything
to the
work.
following February, which would be the 7th?
7th.
7th?
7th, yeah.
But I'm only one person, so.
No,
it's
but Ms.
acceptable
Haywood
for
brought
me.
up the
Yeah, Ms. Haywood.
February date, so whatever the will of the committee is.
It would be better for me as well, the 7th, yeah. We would only have the 2 meetings, I guess, for the February, because it would be that, right now we only have 1 meeting in February.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the February break and whatnot. So. Mhm. So we can propose the February 7th date in place of the January 31st.
The other suggestion, I mean, along with that, if we don't want to have meetings 2 days apart, is I know we can't meet February 16th, that's the first day of winter break, but you can meet the 23rd? Because that would still give you 2 February meetings, we wouldn't be on top of each other, and you still have a week between the 23rd and March 2nd. Just don't know,
So
what is it?
happy to do that.
Fine.
Seems like it solves both problems. All right. Well,
So we could,
someone
the
want,
February meetings, so we have the 2 January meetings, the 5th, the 26th. The Saturday morning meeting would be February 7th, the first February meeting, and then the second February meeting would be, I'm sorry, that's the
February
23rd.
23rd.
February 23rd, thank you.
Does that work, folks? All right, if someone wants to make a motion of such?
I move to approve the school committee meeting dates with the changes that were stated.
Second? Ms. Haywood, seconds? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Haywood?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Dr. Sorensen?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Passes unanimously with those requested edits.
Thank you. Excellent. We'll make the revisions on that and make sure that that gets posted to electronic school board before the start of the school year, too.
All right. Next up, we have the first student agreement for transportation services. Dr. Blaisdell?
Yes. So I'm coming in front of you this evening looking for approval to approve the second of our one-year options for our first student contract for next fiscal year. As you know, we had a 7-year contract with 3 one-year options. Last year, you voted to accept the first of the one-year options. This year, if we look at FY26, it would increase our bus budget by 2.75%, which is extremely low in comparison to other districts around. So it would bring our daily rate per bus from $486.45 to $499.83. When you look at some other districts around, information that I have, the average increase right now for next year is looking at about 9%. When you look at, again, the ones I have, there's a lot of the ones out there I do not have. And we're still under $500, and I met with a consultant just recently, and they said if you're under $500, you're doing pretty good. What we have to do right now is also, we are in the process of undergoing a study in regards to whether it makes sense to go out to bid for our next bus contract or to look at our own buses. No matter what we do, it would have to be an active conversation in the fall, because either way, what we would have to do would take some time to write the bid, and then for someone to accept the bid, because they have to go out and buy new buses. And right now, buses are looking at about a year out before you can get one. So if this is just recommending to go to FY26 to approve the one-year option for the $499.83 for next year per bus per day.
This is reflected in the proposed FY26 budget, obviously, too.
All right. Do we have any questions for Dr. Blaisdell? So my only question more, comment, one, obviously, we did an amazing job getting this deal in the first place. So obviously, it makes sense to keep taking the 1 year, extensions. Once we get, looking forward to 2027 and, the 2027-2028 school year, aside from, considering having our own buses, are we planning for that? Like you said, it's almost like a budget nightmare where we've gotten so lucky and postponed all these increases that we're going to go from 500 a bus to 1,000 or whatever it is. Are we planning for that essentially like doubling of our, transportation budget in 2 years?
What we'll do is before we get to that point, I'll be surveying a bunch of different districts around to try and figure out those who opened up their contracts, opened up their bids just recently and where they settled
Where they ended
and
up.
what those percentages are. I'll be working with a consulting firm to write that bid. I won't write that bid because I don't have that experience.
Yeah.
And even when Gary Costin wrote the last bid, he worked with a consulting firm to write that bid. And we'll get those percentages in regards to where people are thinking that it might lie.
Yeah.
And we'll be budgeting for that. So hopefully, we'll be opening a bid hopefully before the next budget cycle for
That's what I was, yeah,
2028.
that's what I'm hoping is for before next year, we have at least that heads up for, town meeting, et cetera, to know that, hey, a big bill is coming in a year,
Yeah, or
2 years from now.
or a change.
Or something, yeah, exactly.
So
That's
it's
something
good-
major is
it's
going to change.
Good timing with the
Yeah.
as we do that as one of our goals, looking at transportation and it can forecast out what would be the best option.
And we'll have to make that decision because, again, to get new buses, we're talking a year.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're going to have
Yeah,
that
we're
contract
at
settled.
you're at a fork here, you have to do something. Okay. Did anybody else have anything? Think of anything? All right. If not, do we have a motion on the proposal?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with First Student.
Do a second? Ms. Jackson seconds. All right, do a roll call vote. Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Haywood?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Dr. Sorensen?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Dr. Blaisdell.
Thank you.
All right, move on to Dr. Campbell's superintendent's report.
Thank you. So underneath the report also is included my superintendent goals update, so I'll end with that. Could kind of roll in if that's okay. So just in terms of a quick update, the Advisory and Finance Committee met with us on January 20th, Subcommittee F. The entire Advisory and Finance Committee will be voting on budgets on Wednesday, the 19th. Dr. Blaisdell and I will be in attendance for that meeting, where the larger committee of 15 will be voting. Just wanted to bring that up. Nathaniel Morton proposed parking. Again, Park Plymouth wants to help support a driveway, playground, parking renovation. Very early stages. We've had one initial meeting with the town civil engineer to start some conceptual work. We'll be sure to share that with you and want to get a group before the school committee to kind of talk about where things are going. I know many years ago, when Park Plymouth came over to Nathaniel Morton, there was concern about the grass and the parking, and they put the fence up, and that was a result of conversations here. So where this, before this conceptual work gets too far along, I want to bring the group, central people to this committee. So we'll plan that sometime in the near future as well. Shishigahama, Japan, just, students and parents. The applications need to be, again, a reminder of this wonderful opportunity this summer for our students. We have 11 to date. We have 11 interested students. The applications need to get in by this Friday, February 14th. We continue to push that out through social media. So, and we'll do, we're going to schedule the interviews for February 25th after the break. Bless you. If anyone has any questions, any family has any questions, please reach out to me directly, my email or my phone in the office. Last week, I had a virtual meeting with the acting commissioner talking about supporting immigrant students and families. during that webinar, we received, important reminders about the updates of supporting our families. And Desi emphasized the resources available through the Office of Refugee and Immigration, the AG's office, the same guidance and information that I've shared with the community, and how we're, providing equal access to public education for all students, and our commitment to that. So Desi continues to show their support on that as well. Another thing that was shared during the webinar is cell phone and social media school kit. Dr. Rogers actually went to a workshop where the Attorney General spoke to this toolkit. I'm happy to share that out with all of you as well. A lot of research regarding the damaging effects of social media and technology, smartphones and whatnot in the hands of young children. A lot of suggestions in terms of policy, like how policies could be written. I think we've done a good job with our secondaries here in terms of putting them away for the day. And certainly I think, you hear testimonials from our building administrators on how that's been very helpful. Just a great resource, and I think something as we plan and consider like opportunities for families to really understand what they're doing when they give their child a device at an early age, the impact that can have. The more that we can educate our families, I think the better off we are. The toolkit has a number of great suggestions in that as well. Another thing that was talked about, just kind of the highlights of the webinar with the commissioner, was competency determination. So we discussed the upcoming changes related to the competency determination, which we spoke about, I think it was the last meeting we did that. The DESE is launching with the governor a commission to explore the concept of deeper learning across high schools, with the goal of enhancing both depth and quality, but also looking at potential changes to competency determinations, including some of the deletions of where the regulations mention the state's role, but also introducing new potential definitions and terms. And so this will also include additional subject areas potentially under the purview of DESE's oversight. So this statewide graduation council should be established very soon, and we'll start doing that work to establish these guidelines. So as more information comes to our attention, we certainly will keep you updated on that. We may even have someone internally that would, someone who was considered to be a part of that. So not sure if that has happened yet. And Dr. White already mentioned, I was going to mention that the Reflections Anthology is happening on Wednesday. It's a wonderful event. Can't believe it's been a decade in the works, but if you can make it over to South High School, please, even for a short period of time. It's a great event. So happy to, any questions about any of that before I get into the goals? Yeah.
The proposed parking, driveway, playground renovations, Park Plymouth, are they doing that with the intention of using that as parking in the summer or something?
Yeah, so that is part of Park Plymouth already. So so there wouldn't be any change to that agreement. It's kind of I don't know how commonly known it is, but they are part of that Park Plymouth.
Okay.
This would be to expand the parking, sort of moving the playground structures off of the parking lot and moving them to the perimeter of some of the green space, keeping in mind trying to keep a lot of green space there, which would be safer for the kids, enhance the Park Plymouth options, but also allow us to stage all of our buses back there, which anyone who's been here at Dismissal on Lincoln Street, it's quite busy and hectic. So that would create a safer environment for students and families as well. So very early stages, we don't know where it will go with their committee, but as we get some conceptual drawings, bring it here so that people can see that as well.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Jackson?
With the cell phone policy that's being put out, I was just at the Plymouth South High School School Council meeting, and we had a really good conversation about that, about how not taking them away completely, but having a tempered approach, actually aids us in teaching them how to manage things in real life. And I thought it was a good point to add to, like, whatever they're talking about now. I don't know if we have the opportunity to weigh in on that, but Mrs. Fry made some really good points about the fact that kids are going to have to learn how to use this as a tool as adults, and that giving them structured time to use it is important to show them the good use of, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, responsible being.
Exactly,
Yeah,
thank
as an adult, we all have. It's in my pocket right here, and sometimes it's
My business for
it's like an appendage. But it's a necessary tool, and how to use it as a tool, and but also, again, allowing kids to sort of disconnect from it, because, and I'm sure that you've heard examples like of kids that, it's the notifications are going off over and over and over again, the anxiety that produces. So trying to get students and families to understand, like, when do you first hand over a device like that to a young person, and when, and how to teach them that responsible usage. We have students, though, in first grade that have cell phones, smartphones. And, that's a family decision, but I think our job as education system is to share that data about what that could do to their child,
Right.
in terms of their, like, emotional well-being or lack, or not. So yes, so it is, I agree, particularly at the high school.
I agree with your point when it comes to younger students. I thought she made a good point about the high school students, but definitely it like, as even at high school, your brain is still evolving, and
Absolutely.
so learning how to responsibly use a device is
Yeah,
really
and
important.
Dr. Rogers could speak to the presentation that was done, but came away just really taken back. And we know it, and we're in this work every day, and we hear, examples of students that are, really struggling. But it's it's hard.
There was a study that came out of the UK that included MRIs of the brains of users, and the figure was 30 hours. They saw changes in structure, brain structure, for students who had screen time greater than 30 hours in a week. And that's not hard to do. If you're doing 4 hours after school or 5 hours after school, you're going to be up near 30 hours. Pretty powerful study.
Yeah, I actually, so Dr. Walsh, she's a research sociologist out of Boston University who started her dissertation, and she has 3 children, all sort of school-aged. So that's how sort of she started this research. And now she's, world-renowned for her research in sociology and psychology on the impacts of the brain, impacts of mental health on students who use cell phones either at younger ages. And she was just very well spoken. I was so, the speech was so powerful that I reached out to her immediately, and I have a call with her this week because I want to pick her brain a little bit more. But it was so, having 3 children of my own, it was really, really enlightening about the mental health issues, the things that kids worry about, the research. And she uses a lot of our students in her research and asks them, to like log their feelings about putting the phone away, like even just riding the T station or during class. And the research that she's doing is just incredible. So I'm hoping that I can get her to Plymouth at some point to talk with our educators and our administrators and maybe do a parent presentation for our parents at some point. So it was really great.
That would be great.
Great. Anybody else?
Okay, thank you. So regarding goals update, so I put together, I'm not going to read through this, it's 9 pages of just evidence. And so at the end of the year, when I also provide some samples of work underneath the indicators of leadership and the goals, there'll be specific data to go along with this and metrics. There's some in there that were easily obtainable, but again, we're halfway through this school year, so I wanted to sort of, and then this isn't an exhaustive list of what's been done, but just some of the examples of what's been done related to these goals. We've really tried to approach it looking at our strategic focus areas in our strategic plan. So the first one being student learning and chronic absenteeism. And, I'm not going to kind of go through like the challenge of that and where we are as a state, but, really trying to get down and look at that as an administrative team, come up with incentives, really looking at it in a holistic way, bringing the community into it. So some of the actions that have been taken, are one, driven by data, two, are involving the community and trying to engage our families and incentivize students to a degree in terms of like, that there's always a way to kind of improve it, and it's not you may have been potentially denied credit, but you can recover from this, and how do we help kids through that, but also just doing some promotionals and being aware of our audience in multiple languages and trying to connect and do outreach and connections to all of our student body. So when you look at that, it just kind of put it into categories. So one is data-driven decision-making. We have had 3 administrative meetings where our focus has been on attendance, priority areas for improvement, lists of initiatives that we're doing using attendance work resources, which is a reputable organization to look at that. Open Architects is our data analytics tool that we can analyze, and I will share this with you when we do the end of the year. You can see the trends, and we break it down by subgroup. We have our attendance officer coming in, to supervisor of attendance, I should say, to support that work, and really looking at the improvements that we've made, even in comparison to last year. What happened this January, and we've seen a dip in our English language learners at one point, but we've also seen a major dip in the entire district for health reasons. So last year, December was really bad, and January was better. This year, December was much better than last year, and January's been really bad, but we've had a lot of like legitimate health, like viruses going around that have been tough. So, we kind of factor that into that. But we did see an increase in our absenteeism among our multilingual learners for a period of time. That's changed in recently, but again, we're looking at it collectively. We're having conversations. We're sharing best practices as an administrative team, principals. We have a truancy collaboration meetings with the residence service director, DD, over at Algonquin Heights, who's fantastic, and she is like so supportive of this work. So all of the schools whose students reside there are a part of those meetings. So that's something that is new this year in terms of that collective focus. The Be Present campaign in terms of community and family engagement. There's a lot of examples in here in terms of promotional materials and events. Also, again, done in multiple languages, creating success plans for students, and the media outreach. We've done multiple videos, Instagram Reels, podcasts. I've given a number of sample medias in there, from first grade classrooms to the English language learners at Hedge. There's a link in there. You can click on those. I put some of them in the document. If it says watch here, it's an actual video, so if you can go back and watch that. The Hedge one is just, it just pulls at your heartstrings. It's a wonderful video. Student ambassador in that video for sure. So try to highlight some of those things that we've done as well. Targeted interventions, again, with Algonquin Heights and the resident services, doing monthly attendance reviews, publicizing, creating challenges there for the students. They're running out of they're giving gift cards to students for like perfect attendance, and they're running out of them, and we're trying to help them with that because it's working. Some of those incentives are working there. Some of the interventions and communication strategies, getting more specific with our elementary and middle school letters, as well as the letters at the high school, to provide improvements and incentive plans in place. Just the regularity of child study teams focused on students who are at risk for attendance issues, and a lot of the schools bringing in the nurse, the adjustment counselors, the principals to really get at that root issue, depending on what it is, if it's a medical, if it's for social emotional reasons, making sure that the right people are at the table. And another thing that has been I think is one of the best investments we've made is talking points. And I believe I put a link in there so it would take you to the website to look at that. Talking points is an application where we can, at the classroom and school level, communicate directly with families. So I would write something in my preferred language and the families receive it in their preferred language. They can then communicate in their preferred language and we receive it in ours. So it's completely, it's instantaneous and it's amazingly accurate. And we're finding that our families, particularly our families who may not speak fluent English, are utilizing this quite often. It's a preferred method as opposed to email or picking up the phone. So it's a great way. Our supervisor of attendance using it has a log, and you can. It's really helped to open the doors of communication there. So I'm so happy that we're utilizing that. Any questions about that one so far?
Can I have a question about that last point?
Please.
How do we communicate to families to use this technology?
Through the schools.
So I'm sorry?
Through the schools. We've done
Through the
that directly
schools,
through
okay.
the schools. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So it syncs with Aspen. So if you're a classroom teacher, you log into Talking Points, you can send a text message to, if you were my class, I just send out a welcome message. It will translate it into whatever languages for the students in the class. Welcome to Talking Points. I'm Mrs. Rogers. I'm your English teacher for the year. And then so they get a welcome text right at the very, very, very beginning of the year. And it all syncs with our student information system.
You get it on their Chromebooks?
On their cell phones.
On their cell phones?
Right on the cell
Yep.
phones.
It's even better.
And
Yep.
and that's the preferred. That is the preferred method that we've found. That even before we had talking points, they wanted text messages. Families wanted text messages. A lot of families are used to using WhatsApp, so this is something that has really helped to transition and bridge that communication. And we were playing around with it before we implemented it, and Dr. Rogers is sending me messages in all kinds of languages, and it just translates instantaneously. It is a game changer for us. It really is.
So just a comment, I just think where we were just having our last conversation about the effects of cell phone usage with the children and now implementing more technology to support students, that we just are mindful in regards to the messaging about, how we deliver, scaling back and using the phone for what it's intended
Yeah.
to. One of the questions I had specifically was at Nathaniel Morton, they use Pickup Patrol. And it's very helpful in regards to proactively, sharing about absenteeism. Is there an opportunity to use that at different high school levels? And I say that at different grade levels. And I say it specifically because I have a high school student who doesn't quite know how to get his note from the doctor to the support services staff. So the letters that come home are very helpful because that bridges the communication of where did the letter go.
So I don't have an answer regarding pickup patrol. I know it's used heavily at the elementary school. I want to clarify on the talking points, though, for you, that is just with families. We're not using that with students. So I know we're talking about like
Okay.
putting the cell phones away and then using cell phones, but it's just with the families for the talking points. So that's our way of kind of connecting with the families on the attendance issues or anything for that matter. We're using it quite heavily.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Ms. Hayward?
It's great to see progression. I just remember, I think it was in 2020, like during COVID, and I remember, I think it was either Weymouth or Braintree that was piloting a translation service, and I remember bringing it up, and there was like this cost associated with it, and and it was kind of brand new. So it's great to see this progression now that we have this ability to now communicate with our families.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I mean, we've had translation interpretive services where we call people looking for assistance, but this, you don't have to wait for that. I mean, you can't always wait for that, and to do that is creating a barrier, right? So this is really, I think it's one of the best tools that we've had.
Yeah, one of our EL teachers at PCIS was talking about, so to Dr. Campbell's point, so the barrier, you know, like sometimes the field trip permission slip doesn't always get home, right? Or even if they get it home, it might not necessarily be in their language. So a teacher can send out a reminder to get the permission slip, so we don't have students who are missing out on things, or missing out on the Lion King, or missing out on, you know, choral, you know, rehearsals or whatever it is. So it's incredibly helpful to engage those families and to make sure that we're not accidentally excluding kids because of the language barrier.
Dr. Campbell?
The next goal is around district improvement in terms of transparency and communication regarding budget. So we have done a lot in this area, really a multi-pronged approach, and including, I mean, Dr. Blaisdell has been, I think I drive him crazy at this point with all of the presentations and reports and TV appearances that he's been a part of. And as Ms. Jackson, and I really do appreciate that, but really trying to, we're transparent with our finances and the decisions behind it and our needs, but also I think equally important how we're trying to be good stewards of taxpayers' dollars and make the best use of the resources we have. So I'll just kind of categorize this. So in terms of transparency and public reporting, really enhanced publications of financial reports. I've given a number of examples. Those are all hyperlinked in there so that you can take you to where they exist on the website. You'll see that our budget book, when it gets produced this year for town meeting, not the detailed budget book that you all have already looked at and FinCom looks at, but one for our town meeting members. We'll also have QR codes and hyperlinks to all kinds of resources in there, videos included. So really trying to, and that will also sit on our website, as do all the books of years past. So again, trying to, you know, in terms of our publications, being mindful of the audience. A comparable budget analysis, again, continuing to look at districts that are similar to us, whether it be demographic or wealth, and how they're utilizing their resources. We can always learn from one another. So looking when we can, it's really important to look at that and see, you know, how other communities are doing it, particularly if they have comparable conditions, as I mentioned. Transparency in terms of our school department website, and you know, there's details regarding budget summaries, detailed reports, capital project status of reports, capital projects of last year as well. End of year audit reports that Dr. Blaisdell has added there, and then just real-time financial updates constantly. We've done a lot of community engagement, public awareness campaigns through print materials, videos. I put a link out there for you to look at some of those. Did a number of video series collaborations with the local scene, Impact TV. Again, there are a few hyperlinked for the committee who's aware of that, but for the public, if they want to look at those as well, regarding school budget, understanding school finances, some of the priorities explained. And then the most recent community conversations that we did, which will go out right before town meeting, again with PAC TV. There's a link there for that as well. That was about 20 minutes or so, I believe. Also did a number of radio appearances. We did 30-minute segments at WATD. Really appreciate Mr. Tachi for having us in for, I think, at least 5 radio appearances, if I'm not mistaken, kind of going through, you know, the operational budget in its entirety, but then really getting into the nuances of some of those areas, and I've listed some of those there. And then I think, you know, our commitment to working with budget subcommittee, select board to really foster that collaboration. I think we're really going into FY26 in a very collaborative way. We're all on the same page, and you know, next year, and we've had some conversations since our last joint meeting, which happened on 30th. I think that's when we had the joint meeting on the 30th, right? Yeah, January 30th. That and Dr. Blaisdell and I had a meeting with town manager today. We're gonna do that presentation jointly next year.
So we will be a school and town manager, superintendent presentation of proposed budget for next year, and then also look at the additional sort of expenses that a town incurs that are not a part of the proposed budget. So hopefully that will help to clarify any questions that people had during that joint presentation that was done a short while ago. So any questions about any of that? No? Okay. Dr. Blaisdell spoke to this, so transportation. We've been talking about transportation for several years, so this is something that we're working very closely with the Massachusetts Association of Pupil Transportation. So they've come in and started conducting interviews with myself, Dr. Blaisdell, looking at special education, bus contracts, working with our transportation coordinator and having conversations with school principals. They're in the process of doing a thorough document review to analyze our documents, our budgets, our contracts, capital plans, strategic planning. They're looking at everything to come up with some recommendations. So look forward to that. So in addition to doing the analysis to see if we can become more efficient or if there's any savings, long-term savings, we also want to enhance the quality of the experience of our students and families. So really looking at how are we more transparent with information regarding transportation and try to get feedback from families. So the transportation website, and again, thanking Dr. Blaisdell for this, really enhancing the website to improve transparency, accessibility for families with information regarding bus route information, even our winter stops. There's a winter stop bus route if things are potentially changed, frequently asked question sections, key contact information if they have an issue, but also a first student feedback link, which allows parents to submit comments and some feedback. Another thing that we're looking to do, which isn't on this list, which will be rolling out a few years ago, it was in its sort of infancy stage, but first view, and we talked about this at safety committee. I'm going to actually talk about it again tomorrow, but first view is an application that we can utilize with first student that is like a geolocation. So it also kind of follows the bus and the bus routes, but can be an opportunity to notify a parent when the bus is leaving. The bus is 5 minutes from its bus stop. So we're going to slowly roll that out to see how it goes and look for participants, understanding that it may not be entirely accurate. We need to see if it's worth going full force with this, but this is something that's included in our first student. It's not an additional cost on us to do this, but we're looking to see if we can use this new technology to, again, help with our communications with families. Any questions about that one? Nope. Okay. And then the last goal is our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're committed to this work, as you know. So I've given sort of a number of examples of some of the many things that we're trying to work on. One thing, again, looking at data, we need to look at the data in front of us, whether it's participation, discipline, you name it, attendance, whatever it is. We need to look at the data we have for all of our students and try to make informed decisions and plans that are going to help us to really support all kids. So we've done, again, regular review of student performance metrics, again, using open architects, again, looking at subgroups, and I listed the meetings from September until as recent as January 24th, where this has been an agenda item with our entire administrative team, our principals, our coordinators, and directors, where we're looking at that and sharing best practices. We're in the process of conducting a comprehensive equity audit, and this will be a district-wide audit where we're looking at like our policies, procedures, and operational structures supportive of all students and families in the most equitable way. So we're in the middle of initiating that. There will be self-assessments that will be done at every building and district-wide. We will be doing stakeholder surveys with all families and students. We are doing a curriculum and data analysis as well. That's part of that. So looking at our curriculum documents and having opportunities for interviews as well. You heard a little bit from Dr. White about like curriculum. This is something that it's a goal and it's never done, as Dr. White said, but we're constantly adding to our curriculum, refining our curriculum so that we have, as Lisa said, it's the windows, the sliding glass doors, and the mirrors. Do they see themselves? Can they immerse themselves in another cultural experience, but also kind of integrate that into the curriculum, where we're not just doing it at certain occasions. So some of the examples, obviously through literacy classroom libraries, investigating history curriculum. I put a link in there. That's a Department of Education supported initiative, and we're actively involved in that as well. Training for our educators on culturally responsive teaching. We've had keynote at our professional development this year. Same individual that came and spoke to school committee a while ago, but we also worked with Confianza, and I put a link in there to that organization, because I think that you'll be very impressed by that. So Confianza has been working with us for a couple of years at PCS again this year, really training educators in culturally responsive teaching, unconscious bias, and inclusive pedagogy. So it's a really great organization that's helping and really getting in at the practitioner level and working with our schools. Again, equitable access to learning resources, expanding our classroom libraries for cultures and identities and abilities. And then we're also looking at, the ADA, the Title II laws regarding ADA accessibility for educational materials, particularly digital materials, and working through that this year as well. Again, at the building level, it really comes down to trying to build that climate and culture. So in terms of like student-led clubs and initiatives, some of the examples of the elementary clubs, Allies and Eagles for Equity at the high school. North High School started a Friends Without Borders to support multilingual learners, to really get them connected with their peer groups at North. Some of the multicultural arts and community engagement events, assemblies at various schools. We also had a personalized multilingual learner college, career, and technical education event for students and families this year, run with the support of Mark Duffy, which was very helpful. So I think we'll see a change in terms of like active participation in CCT and really trying to promote that and personalize that, again, that connection for our multilingual learners and their families, as well as some family nights to strengthen that engagement. Both high schools, again, as new communities join us at our high schools, making sure that the flags are displayed in the schools. So if you go down north, call it Main Street, you'll see the flags that represent the students and families in that school. If you go to south, you're going to see it in the monumental staircase. It's a beautiful display in the windows of all the flags of the students there. And then over at South Middle School, a training with Sandy Hook Promise on Start With Hello to kind of foster that inclusive environment. We continue to try to partner with No Place for Hate. This was mentioned by Lisa as well. A great event. I was out of state with my daughter, or I would have been there for the Martin Luther King Jr. Weekend celebrations, including the essay contest, which we focused on our 7th graders, where some students came and read their essays, but also our visual and performing arts, which were a part of that as well. So again, and I spoke to some of the representatives from No Place for Hate, and really appreciative of that. But kind of, again, we need to work as a community and work with a wonderful group such as No Place for Hate. Ongoing support, we're trying to support our immigrant families through school-centered coffee gatherings, our multilingual district communications, and also partnering with our town leadership and volunteer groups, I think now more than ever, and we're committed to that work. Again, communication, I mentioned talking points, that sort of falls into this category as well. The high school MLL night for 8th graders, and the regularly translated newsletters. All of our schools are, translating those newsletters. Anything that I send out is translated as well. And there's a button on the top that will let you translate it to any of the languages that we have. here in Plymouth. So again, our commitment to try to make sure that we're not creating barriers when possible. So happy to answer any questions about that. Again, it's not an exhaustive list in any of these goals, but just to kind of give you an update of some of the work that's being done. And it's, again, this is a collective, the work is done by many people.
Anybody have any questions? All right. Oh, Dr. Sorensen.
I speak for myself, but I bet you I speak for this committee as well. The DEIB goal in here is wonderful. Glad to see it. Any audit, I believe any audit that is worth its weight will obviously get the opinions of the minority students of their needs and wants. However, I would also think the opinions and philosophies of the majority students about sharing and acceptance and conversation with the minority students. Because we get both sides of the conversation. And if that's part of the audit, I think that would be excellent.
I think that they will be looking at like a representation sample of all students in the school, so I have no doubt. And we'll wait, and Dr. Rogers and I have a follow-up conversation with our lead at MAEC, who's helping to coordinate this work, and we can make sure that it's important. We want to hear from all of our families, all of our students, all of our staff as well.
Great, thank you.
Yep, of course.
All right. All right, next up we have retirement announcements.
Yes, good evening. So there is a name on the list that looks familiar. It's our beloved Michael Spencer. He's been a principal at Nathaniel Morton for 13 years. Recently, as you recall, last year he took a leave, stepped back from being a principal. He finally came across his position in higher education, that he is now officially going to be retiring after 13 plus years here in Plymouth, but over 32 years in K-5 education. So, Michael Spencer.
Ms. Jackson?
On behalf of the district, we would like to thank Michael Spencer for his 13 plus years of service to the district. He definitely was a big act to follow. I had a lot of personal experience with him, and it's a big loss, but I'm really excited that he's found something.
Thank you. All right, next up we have committee member reports. Anybody have any reports they want to give? Nothing? All right. Master Planning Committee update, Mr. Morgan.
Our next meeting is March 6th.
March 6th, yep. And obviously Plymouth Building Committee is also on here, but that's Thursday, correct.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Shofi, back to personnel reports.
Yes, this evening I can also share with you, we accepted 2 resignations. We did have 3 classified appointments, and then we had 2 parental leaves, 4 medical leaves, and 1 personal leave that came our way.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have any unfinished or new business any members want to raise? Nope. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they want to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing any? All right, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
No, Mr. Morgan, do we have a second? Ms. Haywood? All right. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Haywood?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Dr. Sorensen?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Consent agenda passes unanimously. All right. With that, I will call the February 10th meeting to a close at 9:38 p.m.
Thank you.
Here, everyone.